The problem with digital FPV control links today is that they're not open source. At least that's how a lot of people watching this video feel. DJI and Walksnail, the software, the firmware that runs their systems, completely closed source, completely proprietary. You cannot modify it, you cannot hack it, and you cannot make your own hardware to work with their systems. The hardware is also proprietary and closed source. And people out there who fly the HD0 system are saying, wait a minute, lots of HD0 is open source after all. And that is true, although there are still some parts of HD0 that are closed source, but credit to HD0 for doing at least a little bit in that direction. I guess if you really think about it, the only real open source FPV control link is analog. Anybody can build an analog video transmitter and anybody can build an analog video receiver. And that's why analog video transmitters and receivers are so inexpensive. But they don't have great image quality and range. What we really need is for somebody to make an open source digital FPV control link to finally do to DJI and Walksnail what ExpressLRS did to Crossfire, at least in some ways. It hurts to say it, but it's true. And that's why the product that we're looking at today is so exciting. This is the Runcam WifiLink V2 video receiver. It's an open source video receiver that runs either the OpenIPC or Ruby firmware. And this is the Runcam WifiLink V2 video transmitter and camera. And I don't think it'll spoil the end of the video to tell you right here at the beginning that this is the most user-friendly, consumer-ready, least like buy this weird piece of hardware, buy that weird piece of hardware, cobble them together, flash some weird firmware, go into the Linux command line and type in some commands that you don't even know what they're doing and hope to God that it actually works. It's the closest to an actual product that you might want to actually buy and use that OpenIPC has ever been. But how's the performance? Is it actually a video link that you can use for your daily driver? That's what we're here to find out. And if some of the things I'm hearing from other reviewers are true, the answer is no. Okay, that might have spoiled the end of the video. I don't know. I haven't got there yet. Let's get there together. I'm Joshua Bardwell. You're going to learn something today. Let's start by looking at the video receiver. This is the thing that will go on your goggles, or it will go onto a tripod and a ground station, and it will receive the signal from the video transmitter and output it to your display device. And the first thing you should know about this video receiver is that it doesn't come with a display device. You could probably tell just by looking at it, this is not a set of goggles. It looks an awful lot like the original HD0 video receiver and not that dissimilar from the Walksnail standalone video receiver. And like those devices, it outputs to your display device via an HDMI port. So we've got this mini HDMI here. It's going to output that and you plug it in to whatever display device you want. Although you should be aware that the display device you select will have a big effect on the latency of the link, and that's one of the ways in which OpenIPC still struggles to match the performance of DJI for sure, and yes, even Walksnail. You should know right off the bat that these antennas that you see do not come with the device. I have added these antennas. They're just some old antennas I had laying around, and I use them because they're easy to mount to a 4-antenna device like this receiver. Hey there guys, it's Joshua from the future. Since I originally recorded this, I have gotten the production hardware from Runcam, and I can in fact show you the antennas that it comes with. Here they are, and it's a little bit confusing because these are circular polarized antennas. You can see it says right there LHCP, they're left-hand circular polarized, whereas these are linear polarized antennas. And the short version is that you want the polarization of the antennas on the drone to match the polarization of the antennas on the ground station. So it's kind of weird that they shipped a mixture. It means that no matter what you have on the drone, 2 of the antennas are going to be the wrong polarization. I don't know what the logic is there. The bottom line is that you are going to get the best performance by replacing this with aftermarket antennas, not because these antennas are particularly good or bad, I have no idea, but because you're going to want directional antennas. These are ORT Shield patch antennas. I just had them laying around and they fit and seem to work well. It's not a specific recommendation, although they are okay antennas. You can use whatever you want, but you're going to want to put directional antennas on here almost certainly. because the OpenIPC system kind of needs all the help it can get in the video link, in the wireless link department. And so I figure the extra gain is just going to be useful. In addition, the ground station comes with this power cable, which plugs into an XT60. So that's nice. You can use your flight packs to power it. And it comes with this HDMI cable. You should note that it is a mini to full-size HDMI cable, which would let you plug the receiver into a regular screen. But if you're going to be plugging it into a goggles, you're going to want a mini to mini cable. Basically all of the goggles have mini HDMI. I'm going to be using this cable, which I have left over from one of the very first HD0 receivers that I ever got. Or you could use a cable like this one, which I believe came with the Walksnail video system, and it works pretty well. I'm so happy with the build quality of the WifiLink V2 video transmitter, especially if you look at the build quality of the V1, which was just, it was like two naked circuit boards, not even held together with 4 standoffs. They only had 2 standoffs, and they were just kind of flapping around in the wind. The placement of the SD card port was just completely unintuitive and difficult to use. This looks like an actual professional video transmitter. It's got a single board. It's got a nice SD card slot here. It's got heat sinks for cooling. It's got a fan for cooling, although you can remove these screws and unplug the fan. You see it's not soldered on, it just unplugs here. So if you decide you'd rather go without the fan and make it more low profile, you definitely can. It's got a connector here. This connects to the flight controller, and it plugs into the standard HD video transmitter port. Some would say DJI video transmitter port because DJI set the standard. It plugs into that port that almost every flight controller has these days, which means you're not going to need to do any soldering. You just plug it into the video transmitter and it'll just work. At least that's the theory. The video transmitter comes with this cable. It is a 6-pin cable, which is standard for DJI video transmitters. We do need to point out that the yellow and black wire, which on DJI video transmitters are used if you're using the RC controller. That's your control link, and then the rest is your video link. That yellow and black wire are not used. OpenIPC doesn't, at this time, as far as I know, have the ability to transmit control link. I don't know, maybe it does. I mean, there's plugins for everything. But regardless, the yellow and black wire are not used. You could remove them. You could leave them alone. They're not doing anything. It is also nice that the pinout on these plugs is symmetrical. It is the same for both ends of the plug. And that sounds like it's obvious, but the V1 video transmitter, the pinout on the flight controller side was different than the pinout on the video transmitter side, and if you plugged it in backwards, you would fry the video transmitter, which was stupid. This one doesn't do that. This is a really long cable. Like, how long is it? It is 13 inches, or whatever that is in centimeters. It's way longer than it needs to be for most. Like, I can't even imagine why you would need a cable this long. Runcam, if you insist on putting a 13-inch cable in here, can we at least have like a 6-inch one, some reasonable length? This is just a mess. It's just so much extra wire. I guess you could just get a DJI spare wire. I probably have one sitting around somewhere. Oh my God, I'm going to do that. That's good. So for $4, you could just buy a spare DJI wire. But Runcam, this is silly. Let's ever do this. I don't know what you were thinking. Just about the only complaint I have about the video transmitter is this RJ45 port. Now this plugs into this here plug, which is included, obviously, and that goes to an Ethernet plug, and that is used to plug into your computer, and then you can terminal into this because it's a little Linux computer. And you can terminal into this with Ethernet and configure it. You don't have to do that. And, well, I'd like to say you shouldn't have to do that, but this is not really quite fully fleshed out consumer-grade stuff yet. If it were consumer-grade stuff, we just have a USB port. We don't. The good news is that just like the WifiLink V1, we can put an SD card in this device. We can power it up, and then a file will be written to the SD card. And then we can modify that file just in a text editor and change the most common parameters without having to go in and terminal into it. And if you do have to terminal into it, it's not the end of the world, but for a typical sort of normal person, it's going to be kind of confusing and weird because normal people just aren't used to that. Only nerds are used to that. The camera is an IMX415 sensor, and I don't really even know if that's good or bad. I think that means that it is not quite as good in low light as one of the other sensors whose number I don't remember, But what it does do is it outputs up to 1080p 90. That's 1080p resolution at 90 frames per second, or 720p 120. 720p resolution at 120 frames per second. And that's good, because we really want those higher frame rates to get the latency down. What else should we say about the video transmitter? Oh, it takes 9 to 22 volts. That's 9 to 22 volts. Don't try to run it off of 6S VBAT, or you could just barely get away with 5S VBAT, but nobody's running 5S anyway. Most likely, it's going to be running off a 9-volt or 12-volt regulator, because that's what the DJI plug on basically all flight controllers uses. But if you decided to direct solder it, you should know it still has to run off a regulator. It cannot run off of 6S battery voltage. It has 25mm mounting lugs. You can see these little holes here. It's made for 25mm mounting. Some frames are going to have that, and then other frames you're just going to use a nice piece of double-sided sticky tape to stick it down. The MIPI cable is 13 centimeters, and if that's not long enough for you, I have no idea if the plug is compatible with DJI. It's probably not. DJI always uses proprietary MIPI connectors, at least they always have in the past. I have no idea if you could buy just an aftermarket connector and extend it. Presumably Runcam will sell one, but I don't know if they do. Oh, hang on. There's one more thing I have to do. I have to attach the antennas. So it ships with the antennas uninstalled. What you do is you unscrew this screw here, and then there's a little retention bar that lifts off. That's great. UFL connectors by themselves should never be used without a retention bar or some way of retaining them, because they just pop off. There we go. It comes with these two little antennas. And they look like cheap little crappy antennas, but you can actually get surprisingly good performance out of a little dipole like this. But I think when we put this on a quadcopter, we're going to actually use some nice circular polarized antennas once again, just to try to get the maximum performance out of them. But we'll go ahead and plug these in here on the bench, because you can't turn a video transmitter on without antennas or you will fry it. It's time for the moment of truth. Can you just take this stuff out of the box and plug it in and have it work? I have got the video transmitter plugged into my flight controller, and my flight controller is just powered up from, some alligator clips, because it's not actually in a quadcopter, but that doesn't really matter. And the first thing we should see is that it will begin sort of booting up. It takes a little bit of time. There we go. Oh, we got signal, and there's some Linux command line BS going on here. I don't know what all that stuff is. And then it should just immediately work right out of the box. It should just immediately work right out of the box. Come on, baby. It did work immediately right out of the box. Fantastic. Fantastic. And oh my gosh, look at that. Battery less than full. The OSD is working. That's right. Digital OSD, Betaflight, MSP OSD, whatever you want to call it, it just works. No plugins, no nonsense. I think that's because we're using Ruby and not OpenIPC, but I honestly don't know what the sort of default state is for these things now. It's just fantastic that it just works. I'm actually so happy it does, because I can show you guys now. I started replacing my ceiling tiles. You remember I don't know if you've seen this on other videos. All my ceiling tiles were kind of water damaged, and then there were some over here that were just completely missing because they were so water damaged. Look at my nice ceiling. You can see it with this new camera. It turns out that Joshua in the past was right about one thing and wrong about at least one thing, probably more than one thing, when it comes to RubyFPV and OpenIPC. And that's a good opportunity for us to try to clarify some of the differences between those two things. So what you're looking at in that previous shot was not RubyFPV. Runcam shipped pre-release hardware to me with OpenIPC on it, and then they said, oh yeah, we're shipping it with RubyFPV. So when I saw that, I was like, well, I guess that's RubyFPV. It wasn't. And that's a good thing, because RubyFPV is, at least from my perspective as a user, way easier to use and way more intuitive. Just look at the freaking menus. If I click the joystick button, I get these menu, and I can go into vehicle settings, and I can get all these settings. I can change radio links. Don't worry about these menus. There's an actual menu interface. Why, if I want to connect to a new vehicle, I go to search, and it will search through the channels to try to find the vehicle. Whereas on OpenIPC, as far as I can tell, you just have to manually set the channel, manually set the resolution, manually set the encoding. And if any of those settings are wrong, then it just doesn't connect, and you kind of don't know why. Now, I'm sure that people out there are saying, well, Bardwell, you don't know that there's a plugin for OpenIPC that makes it do all the things you want it to do. Yeah, no, OpenIPC's got a ton of plugins and extensions, and maybe it could do everything RubyFPV can do. If only I knew how, but I don't. And a lot of people who are buying this system probably don't either, and that's why it's great that I've got these freaking menus, and at least I've got somewhere to start searching. If things aren't working, I can poke through the menus, and I can, like, just try and figure it out. To me, RubyFPV seems like a much more mature interface, much easier to use, and much closer to being a final thing that someone could use on a daily basis, instead of like, my video isn't linking up, let's go into the Linux command line and type in an option, see what... Before we take this out and fly it, let's just take a look at how I've got it mounted in the quadcopter. And the camera mounting is really nothing to speak of. It's a 19mm camera. It mounts just like anything else. But take a closer look at the video transmitter. First of all, you'll see that I've got the video transmitter mounted with double-sided sticky tape because this frame has 20mm mounting and the video transmitter has 25mm mounting. Not the end of the world. The other thing that you'll notice is that I have my receiver mounted up under here, which is not ideal. This whole antenna wire and receiver are subject to damage in a crash, but the reason for that is that I would normally mount the receiver on top of the video transmitter here, but I can't because the fan is up here. This has always bugged me about video transmitters that have fans on them. This is not unique to the Runcam WifiLink. I would normally mount my receiver in the back on top of the video transmitter, and you can't do that if there's a fan there. I could remove the fan, but I have heard some rumors that the heat dissipation on this video transmitter is really bad, and if you turn the output power up, then it overheats and maybe even damages itself. That's just a rumor, cannot verify. But as promised, I have used my own high-quality aftermarket UFL pigtails going to SMA connectors and going to high-quality antennas. These are iFlight. I don't even remember the name of the antenna, but they're good quality circular polarized antennas. So that's going to help us as much as possible. The other thing that it's worth pointing out here is that the SD card, this is really dumb. Like, that's as far in as it goes. It really needs to seat flush. Like, I guess I understand that you want to be able to grab it and pull it out, but like sticking out like that, that's going to get destroyed in a crash. It's going to get hit and knocked off and destroyed, 100%. I might even wish that someone made a 3D printed protector or something. Hey there, it's Joshua from the future, and this is the third time I've gone outside to fly this thing. Maybe I finally got it right, and I'm going to get good performance out of it this time. It's not time for you to watch me fly it yet. That's coming later in the video. Instead, it's time for me to interrupt Joshua from the past to tell you that I have a Patreon. Patreon is the single best way for you to support the work that I do here. Are you having fun watching me suffer through this? Are you learning about OpenIPC and RubyFPV and making decisions about whether you do or don't want to buy this stuff? Or if you do buy it, how to get the best performance out of it? If that has value to you, then the single best way you can say thank you is to join my Patreon. If for as little as $2 a month, or more if you feel like I've earned it, you subscribe at any dollar amount that you think matches the value that you get out of my content. And if that value is, shut up, I want to go back and watch the video, then don't do anything right now. Just keep watching the video, and I don't care. I mean, but I hope that someday, maybe today, you will go, okay, I value your content. I'm going to go subscribe. If today is that day for you, there's a link in the video description below to my Patreon. I would love to have you as a subscriber. That's all I'm going to say about it. You could go right back to the video. No, that's it. This is the whole plug. How long do you think I could draw this out? Okay, I'm just being a dick now. Now it's time to put this thing in the air, and I kind of want to put a million caveats on this because I know that the performance of OpenIPC is under a microscope, and if this doesn't give the kind of performance that people are hoping that it someday can give, then there are going to be a lot of questions and a lot of scrutiny on exactly how I got the results that I did. I do want to acknowledge that this is the third time I've run this test. The first time I ran the test, everything was completely screwed up and completely awful, way worse than it should have been. And I went on the OpenIPC, RubyFPV, Runcam Telegram channel. That's how they do their support. It's not a Discord server, it's a Telegram channel. Fine, whatever. And I got some help and some suggestions from the folks over there on how to get the best results out of it, and that's what you're about to see. If you look at the lower right-hand corner of my video receiver screen, you will see that I'm running Ruby 11.1 while Runcam ships on Ruby 10.8. You do want to update to 11.1. According to the folks on the Telegram channel, the performance on 11.1 is better than the performance on 10.8. So the promise of just buy some hardware and fly it, let's be honest, that was never going to happen. It's just OpenIPC is just not there yet. If you do want to flash to Ruby 11.1, I have a tutorial about how to flash this hardware, and that was also a giant boondoggle of its own. That was like 3 days of screwing around all on its own. So I'll put a link to that tutorial down in the video description below as well. I think I'm just going to make an OpenIPC playlist. I don't know how many videos are going to be on it because I don't know how much OpenIPC content I'm going to make, but it'll all be on that playlist. Again, linked in the video description below. So we flashed to Ruby 11.1, and then we are on the default Ruby 11.1 options, which again, according to the folks on the Telegram channel, the default options that Runcam sets are not necessarily the best ones. So the default 11.1 options, except for some changes, which I want to show you. And the first thing I want you to check is you go to Vehicle Settings and General, and you want to check that the board type is set to Runcam V2. Somehow, after I did this, mine was set to Mario AIO. I don't know how, but it needs to be set to Runcam V2 or things will not be correct. So that's set correctly. Then we're going to go to Quick Vehicle Setup, and we want to check the video settings, and we want to make sure that bidirectional adaptive video link is turned on. And it is on by default, but you want to make sure that it's on. So one of the cool things about RubyFPV, and I think OpenIPC too, is that RubyFPV can run either in a bidirectional mode with retransmissions, similar to Walksnail and DJI, where you get better penetration, better range, better link reliability, but you get higher and variable latency. Or you can put it into a one-way broadcast mode similar to HD0 and analog, in which case you'll get lower and consistent latency, but worse range and penetration. The latency still won't be as low as HD0 and analog, but it'll be lower and, more importantly, more consistent. And I think one of the cool things about this project is that you have these choices. In fact, we can even go in here and we could tweak the exact behavior of the retransmission algorithm. We're not going to do that because I was told by the guys on the Telegram channel, including the developer of RubyFPV himself, that we should just leave this on the defaults. But it's really cool that we have these options if we want to play with them. The next thing that you're going to want to do is go into the OSD settings, and you're going to want to enable some of the stats windows that you see that I have on screen here. We're going to want to enable the video stream stats, and it's here, it's the interface stats, the radio interface stats. We're going to want that set to, well, I have it set to compact, and that is these things here that you see in the upper right-hand corner of my screen. And the reason that's important is it lets us tell how good our radio hardware is performing and how noisy the environment is. If we're on a channel that has a lot of noise and interference, then we're going to get bad performance. As well, if we have like screwed up hardware here for some reason, we're going to get bad performance. And what we're looking for is, we're looking here in the radio stats, we want to see basically no red whatsoever, and as much green and white as possible. Now you'll see a little bit of red there, which is more red than there really should be according to the developer that I talked to, but it's the least amount of red that I can get here in my environment and with this hardware. I should also say, if that looks like a lot of information to have on screen, you can actually set multiple OSD profiles that are switchable by clicking right on the joystick. So you could just make that stuff all disappear when you were ready to fly, but we're going to leave it up all the time because that's the kind of test that this is. Here in the quick vehicle setup, I also want you to take a look at the RadioLink TX power and see that we are set to 300 milliwatts. That is almost the maximum that the Runcam video transmitter can do. And that may sound like an awfully low number because DJI does like 1.2 watts and so on. But DJI and Walksnail are giving the output power coming out of the antennas. So if the antenna has 5 dB of gain, then they're adding that in and saying that's their output power. Whereas OpenIPC is doing the honest thing, which is, and I think that's what HD0 does as well, I'm not sure about that. They're doing the honest thing where they're giving the actual output power into the antenna. And so these output powers, 250 milliwatts plus 60 dB of gain is 1 watt. These output powers are comparable to what DJI and Walksnail are giving you. They're just reporting the number in a different and, well, honestly, more honest way. With all that being said, let's go fly it. And the first thing I'm going to be looking at is in the upper rightish, well, everything's in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Do you see where it says HQ, HQ1, HQ2? That is the major metric of our video quality. And that is an adaptive link that is built into RubyFPV, and we want that to stay at HQ as much as possible. And if that drops to LQ or MQ, where the video quality will be getting worse. Again, I'm going to just try to turn my head here. We've dropped to MQ, our bit rate has dropped, and our image quality is lower. I'm flying really conservatively here because I know that the latency of this system is higher than I'm used to. The latency that Runcam advertises is 50 to 80 milliseconds, and that is significantly higher than the 25 to say 45 milliseconds of DJI and Walksnail, and of course HD0 and analog down closer to 15 milliseconds or even less. It is a reasonably stable link, I will say. So far, I have my hopes cautiously high, but only cautiously because I've done this 3 times now, and each time it has been terrible. Maybe this is the time I finally got the settings right. Let's see if I fly over here-ish. We'll again turn to kind of face the direction I'm flying in. I really shouldn't have to do that, but not flying behind any obstacles. This is okay. What if let me turn this way, fly behind the house. Okay. Oh, climb out, get the link back. Okay, so it didn't recover. I flipped to angle mode. It didn't recover the link very quickly once the link went. It was fine, and then suddenly it wasn't, and then it took a minute to get the link back. That's too bad. How are we doing? Are we happy? Turn again. What if I fly behind the trees here? Oh, it's really... Come on, get the link back. Get the link back. Get it. What if I turn and fly this way? Behind these trees. Oh, it's bad. MQ. Turn my head. It's barely there. If that's MQ, I don't want to know what LQ would look like. Okay. So, what if I turn this way and fly behind the house? Fly behind the house. How are we going to do? HQ. It's hanging in there okay. A little stuttery. That's okay. Some penetration. Oh, no. Where? I got it. Disarm. Where am I? Yeah. Maybe I didn't turn fast enough to face my antennas. Should we try it with the omni antennas? It seems really sensitive directionality with these antennas. I mean, that's to be expected. They're directional antennas. Maybe we should try it with omni antennas. I mean, then we'll just get super short range, right? We'll give it a try. Here we go. Oh, yeah, I think I can tell the reduced range. Am I imagining it? Hard to say. MQ, yeah. I think I can tell the reduced range immediately. HQ, maybe not. Maybe MQ. No, the image looks worse. Oh, God. Okay. Oh, it's so stuttery. I can't even tell if I'm right side up. Am I right side up? Oh, I'm in the grass. This is bad. The grass is tall. I really don't know what to say about this. I really want there to be a day when I say that this project has lived up to the hopes and dreams of the people out there who want to see it excel in the same way that like Express LRS, an open source project, came out of nowhere and now it is one of the leading, if not the leading, control links in the world of FPV today. And people want that to happen for OpenIPC because they want an alternative to proprietary things like DJI or even WalkSnail, which is proprietary. They want an open source, inexpensive, they want that. And the problem is that it has to be good as a video link first. That's the difference between OpenIPC and ExpressLRS. ExpressLRS started out as a very good control link that was really complicated to flash and difficult to use, but it was fundamentally a very good control link from day one. And then it got easier to use. OpenIPC, well, it has made a lot of strides in being easier to use. The RubyFPV environment is amazing. I love where it's going. I am a nerd. I can go into a Linux command line and type some commands to change some. I can edit a text file to change some parameters, but I don't like to, and most people can't. And so to have all of this stuff with this really mature, really full-featured interface, RubyFPV, never mind whatever RubyFPV is doing under the scenes with binding and syncing of drones and all that management stuff, it's great. And I know that RubyFPV is not the highest performance firmware that can run on OpenIPC hardware. There are other higher performance ones, but I think it's the one that most people are going to end up using just because it's the easiest to configure and the easiest to work with. It feels like a case of not even like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. This hardware from Runcam, RubyFPV, this is 4 steps forward, no steps back, but we still haven't got across the line. That's the thing. The fundamental performance of this system is not ready for daily use. It is an experimental toy for people who want to experiment. And if you're one of them, then what I want to say is that the Runcam WifiLink hardware is the hardware to buy. It's compact. It is easy to mount on the goggles. It is easy to use. Doesn't require any fiddling around, 3D printing, any of that stuff. The Runcam VTX, the air unit, it is a nice, well-made, production quality piece of equipment. But actually, I'm not even sure I recommend this hardware because the performance of the hardware is not where I know that the OpenIPC system can be. And I don't just mean the radio link when we're flying around. I mean, if you look at those radio stats, there's noise on all of the channels, no matter what channel you're on. And you can say, well, maybe there's just a lot of noise in your environment. I don't think that's true. I've seen other examples of other people posting content from this hardware, and it's noisy on all the channels, and it makes me wonder if this is just noisy hardware. Whereas when I look at the hardware, the DIY hardware that people are making themselves, it's clean. And I've never seen the Runcam hardware be as clean as the DIY hardware. So I kind of wonder if this is fundamentally busted hardware as well, and it's still the era where if you really want to play with this, you need to go out and buy a Radix, you need to go out and buy a Wi-Fi adapter, you need to 3D print a case and build it yourself. Like, if you want to play with this, I had a lot of fun playing with Ruby and familiarizing myself with the project. If you want that, then this is okay hardware to get. But if you're trying to get something that you can use on a daily basis, this isn't it. Not yet. And that's a shame because Runcam needs the incentive to keep this going. Runcam, the next version of this is, oh, it's going to be so good. This is so much better than the previous version, and the next version is going to be so much better than that. I want this trend to continue. But it's not there yet. This is in the video where I say it is. Well, want to see other OpenIPC content, like how to flash this stuff to get better performance out of it, or maybe someday even the best performance? I'll put a card on screen to the video about how to flash this, and you can see just how fiddly that is. What do you mean? You just put an SD card in with an image burned to it. No, Runcam disabled that. So you can get that functionality back as well as just flash firmware to it in the tutorial I'm going to put up here as well. I'll put my OpenIPC playlist, although frankly a lot of the content on it is old content that's basically not even relevant anymore, so that's the nature of, I'm a terrible YouTuber. No, go watch those videos. They're super interesting. I'll see you there.